Very good morning, students. Hope you all are fine and good. So, the chapter that we are going to see today is chapter 11, Types of Banks. So, students, I think you know about banks in your life, isn't it? You see, for day to day activities at your home, or even you will have a personal account, isn't it? So, I think you know more about banks, but though we are going to learn about the different types of bank in this lesson, okay, and how it is utilized, like based on the types of banks and what all the functions that will go on in a bank. That is what we are going to see in this chapter. Okay, so now let's go into the introduction. See, there are different types of banks performing different sets of functions. Though all types of banks deal in money, each type cater to the needs of different sectors. Therefore, a study of all these types of bank is essential. Different types of banks can be understood by a glance at the chart given in the chapter 10. So I think in RBI lesson we would have already seen about the different types of bank. Yes. So now we are going to see about the different types of bank and what all the differentiation that we have from one bank to the other, and what is the work that that gets carried on in the bank. Okay, let's go on with the differentiation. So first one, we have the types of banks. We have it under three categories. Okay, the banks have been classified under three categories. The first category is based on the functions of bank. We have the first category. The second one is based on the status given by the RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India. So for that we have the second category. Third is nothing but based on the ownership pattern. So when you just see the ownership pattern, that is the third one. Okay, so based on the functions of bank, if you just check the functions of bank, we have the first one, that is central bank. It is nothing but the central bank, otherwise called as the RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India. So I just remember that the last class we were only discussing about the central bank. Yes, so I think you would have known the more knowledge you would have got from the central bank. So now the next lesson that we are going to see is that is the second topic is commercial bank. What is a commercial bank? The commercial bank is a bank where the profit, the regular transaction goes on and it will only aim for the profit basis. Okay, see, banks which accepts deposits from the public and grants loans to traders, individuals, and even to agriculture, industries, transport, etc. in order to earn profit. So the bank which will take on the functions for the purpose of earning profit, that is called as a commercial bank. Their lending is in the comparatively small amounts and mostly for the short and medium period. So it is only for a very short period. They also provide other services like remittance of funds, safe keeping of valuables, collection of checks, and then issue of letters of credit, etc. They operate with a head office and a network of branch offices spread throughout the country. They also issue guarantees to businessmen when a business or an industrialist buy machinery or credit or apply for a big contract. Bank guarantees that in case the customer fails, the bank will make the payment. You understand what it is. So when you just see the day in and day to day activity of an entrepreneur, the most important, one of the crucial play in the bank is the commercial bank only. Okay, so they are the people who are going to help them for their loan. They will help them to accept deposit, and even they will even help them to do the payments and all. So that is actually the work of a commercial bank. See, it is a regular bank that we see every day in our life, right? So there's a few examples that we can say is State Bank, Karur Vysya Bank, Canara Bank, Standard Chartered Bank. Okay, so these all are the commercial banks only. So the next one we have is a development bank. See, the first one we saw is the central bank. Next one we saw, the second one was commercial bank. Now the third topic is development banks. So what is development bank? So by the name, I think you would have got a guess. Development bank is nothing but they will give more huge finance for doing a business, okay, for the development of the society. Okay, for some reason they will help them for the finance. See here, Huge finance required for investment, expansion, and modernization of big industries and others are granted by a separate types of banks called as development banks. They are also called the industrial banks. The objective of development bank is not profit. Their aim is to develop the country and create employment opportunities. Finance is provided by them for medium and short term ranges from 5 to 20 years, and development banks do not accept deposits from the public. They subscribe the shares and debentures of the industry, and they provide technical and managerial consultancy services to industrialists. An IDBI bank established as the Apex Development Bank in 1964 and was transformed into a public sector commercial bank in 2004. Is that clear? I think you would have got some idea about it. Development bank is nothing but, as since I already explained to you, it is the bank where it will play a major role for the development of the society. So for example, one industry is going to launch, okay? So if you want to develop that industry, what we must need? We need finance, yes? So it is not that a small amount it is enough sufficient to start to run that particular business, isn't it? So we need a very large amount. Yes, for that reason they will go and approach the development bank. See, one of the big benefit you have with the development bank is it will contribute to the economic development. That is what the major contribution, okay? So it will pay the way for a standardization of living as well as for the major development for the economy. That also is there in the development bank, okay? And IDBI was a bank which was launched as a development bank initially by 1964, but after 2004 it was even converted as a commercial bank, like a normal, any other normal bank, okay. See, currently it performs both development bank and commercial bank functions. Its name changed into IDBI Limited in 2008 when a development bank is established for a development of agriculture industry. It is called as Agricultural Development Bank. National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development is such a bank. So when even the banks are there for even for developing the agriculture also. So we have already discussed about this. One of the major portion of production in India is it is contributed only by agriculture. So definitely the government must concentrate both on agriculture as well as on industrialization, isn't it? So for that reason we need the development bank. For even for agriculture we have separate banks. So that is also development bank only, but see, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development is such a bank for the agriculture, it seems. And we have the examples here. See, Industrial Finance Corporation of India, that is IFCI, I think you know this term. Small Industries Development Bank of India, SIDB, is very common. Mudra Bank for the development of micro industries. It is for a very, not very big and all, like a micro. Micro, macro we have, okay. Micro and macro we have. Micro means very, very small, okay. Macro means little bigger, okay. So that is what. So Mudra Bank is such a bank which will deal with a small amount of financing and all, okay. See, the cooperative banks. So the fourth topic that we are going to see is cooperative bank. Students, I'll just recall one more time. The first bank we saw is the central bank. The next one we saw is a commercial bank. Third one was the development bank. And the fourth one that we are going to see is the cooperative bank. I believe we already discussed about the cooperative society, yes. So I think you would have known more about cooperative societies right now. So the bank which will, actually what is the concept of cooperative society? The cooperative society means they want to serve the society with a lesser cost, yes, by providing the product at a very less cost. Like same way, in order to promote the society only, we have this cooperative banks also, okay. So I will explain this. See, all cooperative banks in India are owned by its customers or members who are farmers, small traders and others. And cooperative banks in India are either urban based or rural based. Rural cooperative banking structure in India has 3-tier structure for short term loans and 2-tier structure for long term loans. That is, for both these structures, the apex body is National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development, that is NABARD. Okay, so all cooperative banks in Tamil Nadu are registered under the Tamil Nadu Cooperative Society Act of 1983. They are controlled by both RBI and the state government. I think you understand, right? So NABARD is actually controlled by both RBI as well as the state government. It means for the welfare of the people we are doing this. That is what one of the most famous is National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. Students, you will be getting this for 1 mark or even for short answers, okay. See, their foremost objective is providing service to its members for rural development. Rural means what they will do. They will have agriculture, or they will consist of any small trading, isn't it? Like a cottage industry they will have. That is what. See, and agricultural development and not profit earning. They doesn't motive for a. They don't look for a profit motive, as I already discussed. Yes. So they are set up in a towns and villages rather than cities. So they don't set up in cities and all, but they are actually they are in towns and villages. Okay, compared to the commercial banks. Compared to the commercial banks, they offer less variety of services as the bylaws do not permit all commercial bank activities. So when you just compare with the commercial banks, what happens? So they actually they just give very less services, okay, and they are not like the commercial banks and all. So National Cooperative Development Corporation, established in 1963, is providing loans and grants to the state governments for financing cooperative societies. NCDC concentrates on projects like water conservation, irrigation, agri insurance, rural sanitation, etc. Okay, so this is a cooperative banks, as I already explained. So this is only for a service motive and doesn't go for a profit. Okay, see, we have that is NAFED. It is National Agricultural Cooperative Marketing Federation of India Limited, was set up in 1958. These are the examples. Tamil Nadu State Apex Cooperative Bank, okay, then Madurai District Central Cooperative Bank, and Batlagundu Cooperative Urban Bank. So these all are the examples. So the next one is foreign banks. What is a foreign bank? The banks which have registered office in the foreign country and branches in India are called foreign banks. Students, we already discussed about MNC, right? So what is the concept of MNC actually? So the concept of MNC is it will have major operations, it will have all over the world, and the headquarters will be in one particular country. Yes, so that is what the operation of MNC. So like same way, the foreign bank also is the same way. See, the banks which are registered office in the foreign country, they will have a bank in the foreign country, and they will have the locations in India. So that is the foreign bank. Okay. So foreign bank. What is foreign bank? Banks which have registered office in foreign country and branches in India are called as foreign bank. Students, I think you already know about what is a bank. Yes, the foreign bank. We already seen the discussion about MNC and all. So I think you know what is the work of MNC, right? So many it will have branches in all over the world, and the main office will be working in one country. Yes, like same way, the foreign bank is nothing but the bank which has a registered office in the foreign country. It will have a main head office in a foreign country, but the branches will work in India. One of the best example that we can say is Citibank. Okay, the headquarters of Citibank is actually in US, but you have Citibank in Chennai also. In India also we have Citibanks. So why does they have the Citibank? Because they want to do their operations over here. Okay, for that reason they will have it. So see, these banks open their offices in big cities and port towns only. Mostly they serve the interest of the multinational companies, employees and other business institutions. Their profitability is higher than Indian banks, and in 2017 there were 42 foreign banks in India, and all of them were scheduled banks. They have to oblige both their home countries, then banking regulations and the RBI regulations. So they have the profitability. The profit will be much higher than the Indian banks. And even in 2017, if you see, there are around 42 foreign banks in India. Okay, so all of them which were the scheduled banks. Okay, see here. So now we have the examples of the foreign banks. The examples are Bank of America, that is the USA, Barclays Bank, yeah, that is a UK bank actually, but it functions in India also. And then is Deutsche Bank, that is in Germany. Okay, so Dutch Bank is in Germany. See the next one, that is regional rural banks. What are the regional rural banks? The RRBs were found under the Regional Rural Bank Act of 1976, jointly by the central government, state government, and a sponsor bank. So what do? They are actually formed by the registered by the regional rural banks. They are actually formed under the regional banks, and it was in 1976, and they actually jointly by the central government and state government. They are the formation which are done by the state and the central government, and it is a sponsor bank also. Their share capital is contributed by these sponsors in the ratio of 50 is to 15 points to 35, and they are established as a low cost institutions in rural areas. They even have a low cost, and it is in a rural area. So their objective is to develop the rural economy and play the supplementary role to cooperative society. So that is what their objective is. They mobilize the deposits from the rural public and provide finance to rural artisans, the small entrepreneurs and farmers, and try to avoid their dependency on money lenders. As on 31st of 3 2016, there were 56 RRBs in India with 14,494 branches. They are regulated and supervised by the NABARD. Okay, example is Pallavan Grama Bank, that is Salem, Tamil Nadu; Pandian Grama Bank, Tirumangalam, Madurai district in Tamil Nadu; Valalar Grama Bank, that is Chidambaram, Kudalur district, Tamil Nadu; then Paduvai Bharathiyar Grama Bank, that is Villiyanur, Puducherry. Okay. The seventh one, that is a specialized bank. Okay, so we have around still 9 banks are there, 9 subdivisions are there. So we are seeing about the 17th one. We are just into the 17th type now, specialized bank. What is a specialized bank? Some banks are created for the special purpose by the government. That is, Export and Import Bank of India was set up through Export Import Bank of India Act of 1981. Its main objective is to facilitate the international trade of Indian business. Exim Bank provides finance for export of technology, export product development, pre-shipment and post-shipment, and overseas investment. In National Housing Banks was established under the National Housing Bank Act of 1987. It is wholly owned subsidiary of the RBI. The objective of NHB is to promote housing finance institutions at local and regional levels in India. So what do? The specialized bank, like some banks actually they are created for a special purposes by the government, and they are like Export and Import Bank of India. Actually it was set up through the Export Import Bank of 1981, and the objective of this bank is to just to promote the export and import in international way. Okay, to just uplift the export and import in India throughout the world. So Exim Bank provides finance and for the import of technology, even for doing the import and all, or export product development also we need this Exim Bank. Okay, and then see, it is actually wholly owned by the subsidiary of the RBI, and the objective of NHB is to promote the housing finance institutions at local and regional levels in India. So what is their objective? The NHB objective is to promote the housing finance institutions. It is actually in local as well as in the regional levels they want to do it. The example is Export, that is Import Bank of India, and next one, that is Exim Bank. We call it as Exim Bank, students. National Housing Bank is nothing but NHB. So these are the export and import banks. Okay, this is also called as a specialized bank. The next one that we have is a local bank. So what is a local area bank? The local area bank schemes was introduced by the RBI in August 1996. LABs are small private sector banks established in rural and semi-urban areas. Each bank serves 2 or 3 adjoining districts only. Okay, and their main objective is to mobilize rural savings and invest them into small areas. So they just want to, the objective of it is actually to develop the rural savings, and even they want to do it in a invest into the rural areas itself, and they want to develop it. For that reason we have the local area banks. They have to follow the priority sector leading the targets including the targets on the loans to weaker sections. RBI received 227 applications for setting up the labs, and 10 were considered for approval and 6 were given license under section 22 of the Banking Regulation Act 1949. Only 3 labs are functioning now. See, when you just see the local area banks, we have around so these banks were actually launched in order to develop the rural areas. For example, those kinds of banks where they have launched, they wanted to do the development. For that reason they were introduced. They want to bring the development in that particular area. Okay, the best example that we can say is Coastal Local Area Bank, Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh; Krishna Bhima no Samudri Local Bank, that is Mahabub Nagar and Telangana; then Shubhadra Local Area Bank Limited, that is Kolhapur, Maharashtra. Okay, so these are the local area banks. See, the deficiencies are found in the original model of the labs, and there are practical difficulties in the operations of these banks. Even after 20 years, labs could not make an impact in rural development. Therefore, further licensing to labs has been stopped. So, even though it was licensed, they were not able to give a good kind of development was not there, and because of that, it was like a failure to this kind of types of banks. Okay, so the last one, that is the ninth one we have, is the small finance banks. What is a small finance bank? The small finance bank, that is called as SFBs, are private sector banks set up in the unbanked and underbanked regions of the country to achieve financial inclusions. Actually, they were set up for the private sectors, and these banks were actually set up in unbanked, and they were even called as the underbanked regions of the, wherever you don't find banks, there you can find the small finance banks. Okay, so they were just introduced to develop to help the people for using the terms the banking, in order to use them, to make them to use the banking. For that reason, that facility, it was developed. See, the regions of the country to achieve financial inclusions, their objectives are, what was the first objective? The first objective is to mobilize the rural savings. They want to save. See, if you only have a bank, you'll be able to go and open an account, and even automatically you will just have a interest of making a saving, isn't it? So that is provided, that is done only by a bank. So because of the small finance bank, what happens, it actually makes people to save. So that is what mobilizing rural savings. The next one is providing credit to small and marginal farmers. So the main aim is they want to provide credit. See, farmers are very poor people, so they wanted for running their for doing their work, they actually get debts from so many people, and not to do that. So in order to help them for the credit, they provide credit to the small and even the marginal farmers and all. And then second one is to micro and small industries. They want to give savings to the micro as well as the small industries also. And then third one is other unorganized sectors entities. So they want to just develop the other unorganized sectors. Okay, in September 2015, RBI granted the provisional license to 8 non-banking finance companies already engaged in microfinance to be converted into SFBs, and 2 others. SFBs are low-cost structure banks, and they are formed under Section 22 of the Banking Regulation Act of 1949. Okay, so what does it do? See, according to September 2015, RBI granted provisional license. So what did they do? They just provided a provisional license and to the non-banking finance companies, and they actually were engaged in them giving small finances, and it was even converted as a SFBs, and even to the 2 other banks also. SFBs are actually a low-cost structured banks, and they are actually formed under the section of 22 of the Banking Regulation Act of 1949. Okay, examples: ESEF and SFB, Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala, that is one of the example. Then Ujjivan SFB Limited, that is Bangalore in Karnataka, and Fincare SFB, that is Ahmedabad, Gujarat, has 25 branches spread over several states. And the last bank that we have is a payment bank. Okay, so we have still payment bank, and we have still 11 banks are there. So now we are seeing the 9th one is the 10th one is the payment bank. What is the payment bank? Payment banks are formed to widen the spread of the payment and financial services to small businesses, low income households, and migrant laborers. And these banks should be fully networked from the beginning, and they offer doorstep banking payment for a small fees prescribed on the basis of the amount. They issue ATM, debit card, internet banking, and third-party bank funds transfers. They can't lend money and issue credit cards. In August 2015, the RBI gave in-principle licenses to the payment banks. What is a payment bank? See, when you're doing this is actually made to spread the payment kind of thing for the financial instruments, financial services. If you are doing any business, you want to do some payment. For example, students, you are doing a business in India and you want to do a business from India to some other country, say UK. You wanted to do a business in UK, okay? So when you're doing a transaction over there, what happens? That money value is different, isn't it? The money which you have in India is actually rupees, and there in UK it is actually what? It is dollar, yes. So because of this, what happens? So in UK, when you just transfer the money, the value of the money, the currency, everything is different over there. In UK it is pound, not dollar. Okay, dollar is only in America. In UK it is pound. So when you make it for a pound, when you just transfer the money, it is not possible. You can't give the Indian currency to UK. They can't use it over there, right? So when you do the transfer, for that reason, you want a mediatory. For that, we have the payment banks. What do? That payment banks, they play a they play as a middleman, and they help them to transfer this currency to that particular value and that currency. For that, you need the payment bank. See, services to small business, low income households and migrant laborers. These banks should be fully networked from the beginning, and they offer doorstep banking payment for the small fees risk on the base of the amount. What is this? You have UAE exchange and all. Do you know? UAE exchange, what do? From other country, when someone is going to deposit money for you, you will for 10,000, say you pay some 250 or something as a fee, and you get the balance amount in INR. Yes, what do? They play as a medium of exchange. They transfer that particular currency, and they will give it in our own currency. That is the work of the payment bank. Okay, they just charge some fee for you. Instead of their work, they will charge some fee for you. That is what they issue. ATM, debit cards, and internet banking and third-party fund transfers. They can't lend money and issue credit cards. In August 2015, the RBI gave in-principle licenses to payment banks. So this is what they can do. The example is Airtel Payment Bank Limited, Paytm Payment Bank Limited, India Post Payment Bank Limited. All these are payment banks only. The next one is multilateral development banks. What is the work of the multilateral development banks? A multilateral development bank is formed by the government of a group of countries. So what do? It is actually formed by the government, and it is done by the group of the countries. The member countries consist of developed donor countries and borrower countries. International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, Asian Development Bank, then African Development Bank and European Investment Bank are some of the MDBs. Okay. The member countries consist of developed donor countries and borrow countries. So they just have the donors in different countries, and they borrow the money from the countries. International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, then Asian Development Bank, then African Development Bank and European Investment Bank are the examples of the MDBs. Okay, that is multilateral development banks. So still here the types of bank gets over. Students, this is one of the most important topic that you must know, the different types of banks. Okay, so if you are not able to understand any concept, you can just ask me in your live session. Okay, so based on the status given by the RBA, what is the based on the status, based on the banks which is have the category based on the status, what is that? See, the scheduled banks and non-scheduled banks. What is scheduled bank and non-scheduled bank? Let's see. All banks which satisfied the norms and included in the second schedule to the RBA Act 1934 are called as scheduled banks. So whichever bank which satisfied according to the norms and which is according to the second schedule of second schedule means they have some rules and regulation as per RBA. Okay, so according to that, if they are going to follow, then that is a scheduled bank. Such banks are given financial accommodation and remittance facilities at concessional rates by the RBA. So what do they do? These banks actually they get the financial accommodation. They get the finance from the RBA, and they even are able to do the remittance also. Okay, for a concessional, they get it at a concessional rate from the RBA and all. There are no non-scheduled commercial banks, private sector, public sector, and foreign banks in India. There are 5 urban cooperative banks and 3 local area banks. which functions as a non-scheduled banks in India. So these are the overall banks which have is under non-scheduled. We have only 5 banks. That is 5 we have it in urban cooperative banks and 3 we have it in local area banks. These are only the non-scheduled banks in overall India itself. Small finance banks and payments banks have not been licensed under Section 22 of the Banking Regulation Act of 1949. So based on ownership pattern, what is this actually? See, any bank in which not less than 51% of the shares are owned by the government are called government banks or the public sector commercial banks. Students, we already know about this, yes. So when we learnt about the government company, we already learned that so the company which has the share paid up share capital for more than 51%, if it is contributed by the state or by the central, then it is called as a government company. Okay. So like same way, see here when the bank in which the contribution is going to be more than 51%, the shares are being bought by the government, then it is the ownership of the company will goes to the government. See, SBI, IDBI Limited are the public sector commercial banks. All of them are joint stock company type banks and they are corporations type banks also. Each corporation type bank is established by a separate act of parliament and is fully owned by the government of India. So these 3 banks are actually owned by the government of India only. We have other banks also which are the bank which is owned by government. It is IFCI, okay. Then SIDBI Bank, already we learned, right? Exim Bank, these all are the bank which is actually owned by the government. All banking companies owned by the private people are called as private sector commercial bank. All cooperative banks are owned by its members from the public. So cooperative banks are actually owned by the public. Then private sectors are owned by the private people only, and it is also called as a commercial bank. In 1969, there were 14 private banks which were concentrated in cities and towns, and their objective was to earn more profit. In order to channelize the funds with these commercial banks towards the national priorities and to develop the agricultural and rural sector, nationalization of banks was undertaken. Okay, and the government paid the share capital of those banks to the private owners and took over as government banks. So what did they do? In 1969, there were actually 14 private banks and which were concentrated in cities and even the towns, and their objective was only to earn the profit. Okay, so in order to channelize the funds, so in order to get the funds, what did they do? They just and it was also called as a commercial bank, and it was also given priority for the national priorities, and it even developed the agriculture as well as the rural sector, and even it helped for the development of the banks in the nationalization level. Okay, so government paid the shares capital of those banks to the private owners and took over as the government banks. So what did they do? For that reason, government paid the shares and all, and the majority of the shares, and they took it as a government banks, and this is called as a nationalization of the bank. When the private people is going to own the bank, no, in case if they find that the bank is going to be very useful for the economy, then what do? Is they buy the shares of that particular bank and they take it as a government bank. They will convert it as a government bank. So that is what was called as a nationalization of banks. Okay, 6 more banks were nationalized in 1980, and New Bank of India, one of the nationalized bank, merged with Punjab National Bank in 1980. Okay, and today there are only 19 nationalized banks. That is 2017. We had only 19 nationalized banks. Now it is more. It is changed now, as per 2000. Now currently, if you see, so many banks have got clubbed, right? That everything was changed by the government only. See. Examples are nationalized bank, that is Indian Bank, Indian Overseas Bank, Oriental Bank of Commerce. Then the next one is public sector banks. Then State Bank of India we have. Then IDBI Bank and all nationalized banks. Private bank, if you see, we have Lakshmi Vila Bank, Karur Vysya Bank and Kotak Mahindra Bank. So Bharatiya Mahila Bank was established on 19th and was in November 2013 to serve exclusively women members of the public, was merged with the SBI on 31st of March 2017. A detailed study on the functions of commercial bank is given in the next chapter. So we are going to learn about the commercial bank in the next chapter. Okay, in this chapter we only saw about the types of banks and what are the different banks that we have. That is what we saw. On the basis of organization, the banking may be unit banking or branch banking. On the basis of lending practices, it may be pure banking or mixed banking. I think you understand by this. So when you just see in the point of the base of the organization, the banking is actually there are two types, that is unit banking we have and the branch banking we have. On the base of lending, when you just lend the money, we have two types, that is pure banking and mixed banking. On the basis of the products, it can be retail banking and wholesale banking. On the basis of activities undertaken, we have it may be under banking or universal banking. From the ownership point of view, it can be chain banking or group banking. So we have different types. Okay, just make it like a chart and read it, it will be easy for you. There are some peculiar types of banks such as investment banking, Islamic banking, etc. And in modern times, virtual banking or internet banking and mobile banking are very popular. I think this you know very well, right? Nowadays, in spite of before like say 5 years and all, what we do is, if you want to do anything, we'll just go to the branch and we will get the details updated. But now we are not doing it because everything is done through phone or through the internet, and it is very easy. It is very easily accessible. So wherever we are able to get all the complete details of the bank on your phone itself. So that is one of the bless that we have because of banking system through the mobile app. Okay. So students, I think you all would have understood all the topics that I have discussed today. Okay, so please read the lines line by line in your lesson. So if you have any doubts in further, you can just contact me. You can just ask me in the live session. Okay, hope that you all are fine, safe and fine. Thank you, students.